Hey, what's up YouTube? thyAshes here, bringing you another video, and today we are going to be doing my predictions for the Mexico Open event coming up this coming weekend for Gears of War 4. I have the groups in front of me, so I'm going to go ahead and transition OBS over into that screen so you guys can see it, and we are going to talk about these groups and what I believe is going to be the outcomes of these groups. So starting off, Group A, we have OpTic Gaming, us, Enigma 6, Onslaught, and whatever team comes from the open bracket. Now, I will say, disclaimer, I do not know who these teams are going to be, so I am going to go ahead and eliminate them for every group because it's hard for me to speak on behalf of these teams. It's hard for me to speak on behalf of what teams from the open bracket will get put into these groups that do advance. Like, I do know of some North American teams that will be in open bracket that do have a chance of making it in a group stage, but I don't know where and what groups they'll get placed, and that also will affect whether they advance out of group. So just doing the teams that we have in groups right now, so basically Friday's matches, we are going to go ahead and talk about these. OpTic Gaming, us, I see us matching up well against Enigma 6. We have a history of beating them on land pretty convincingly, online fairly well. We've never played against Onslaught as a new team, but they are a relatively new roster. They are from a region that has home field advantage, so that might play into their favor. But if Splice is the best team from that region, and Splice is getting 7th to 8th, but beating the other teams in their region pretty consistently, then I'm not expecting Onslaught to do anything spectacular. So in this group, I'm going to say that at least for these matches, we'll go 2-0. Enigma 6 will go 1-1 because they're going to beat Onslaught and they're going to lose to us. And then Onslaught's going to go 0-2. It's hard to add in, like I said, what the open bracket team does. It depends on the open bracket team. So I'm just going to do these. Group B, which is kind of a difficult group with Splice, EchoFox, and Panda. EchoFox, as you guys may or may not know, recently had their change. I guess it was a few weeks ago, had their roster change where they traded Excels and Soto over to E United and in exchange got Clouts and Kyle. So they've been still looking like a pretty strong team, even though arguably E United got the better deal out of that. But like I said, EchoFox has been pulling their weight, so it should be interesting to see how they do. Panda is another team that's kind of hit or miss. They could perform really well. They may not show up. So and I don't mean they may not show up to the event. I mean they may not show up in terms of how they play. But they do have a strong roster. They have basically 3 of the old SYN members in Jake, Strangulate, and Noxious. And then with them, they also have who else do they have? I'm drawing a blank on the other people on that team. Why am I drawing a blank on the other people on that team? Drix and starts with an S, but I can't think of his name for some reason. I always want to say Speedy, and I know it's Shock. So they have Jake, Noxious, Strangulate, Shock, and Drix. I don't know how I forgot Drix. That's my son. So they have a good roster on paper, and I have seen them do well in the 2K yesterday against Envy. They took Envy to like the 13th round on Forge. So if they show up like that, they could be a very strong team. It just kind of depends. So I would say in this group, though, I'm going to have to give it to EchoFox and Splice. Splice is going to be playing off the home field advantage. They're going to have more energy behind them. They're definitely going to have the fan support in comparison to Panda Global. But I do think EchoFox is probably the better team in this group, so I'm going to give EchoFox a 2-0. And I actually think that I could see this going either way. So you know what? I'm going to do 1-1 because both of these teams... Oh, wait, that's not possible. One of these teams has to lose, right? Then I'm going to have to give it to Splice, and I'm going to say Panda's going to go 0-2. That's a really tough one, though. Panda could win. I think that's one that's going to come down to maps, too. And it also depends on the other open bracket team again. So that's not necessarily that Panda's not going to make it out of groups. It's just saying, like, for example, I don't think Onslaught's going to make it out of the groups. Panda definitely could make it out of groups. It depends on how they perform against Splice and who the open bracket team is. Because the open bracket team, they beat them, and then the open bracket team beats Splice. That could change up that altogether as well. So Group C, Envious, Epsilon, and Heavenlies. I don't know anything about Heavenlies. So I'm going to immediately give them the 0-2. I'm assuming that they're the number, I mean, obviously they're not the number 1 or the number 2 seed, from Latin America, so I'm going to have to assume that they're not going to perform well against Epsilon or Envious, who are much more seasoned, much more experienced. I'm going to give Envious the 2-0 in their group. I think that Epsilon is a strong team, but I think Epsilon doesn't really match up well against any of the North American teams unless they've gone into some kind of serious boot camp and done some serious work since London. So I'm going to give Epsilon the 1-1. I do think that from these groups, based on these teams, I'm going to say Echo Fox and Splice advance. I'm going to say us and E6 advance. I'm going to say Envy and Epsilon advance. And then we have this group. This group is tough because it also depends on the open bracket team. Now, United and Team Allegiance are both really good teams. And then Aztec Gaming, I don't know much about. We've never scrimmed them, just like Heavenlies and just like Onslaught. So it's really hard for me to say. I'm going to have to assume that they're going to go 0-2. But the Allegiance versus United matchup, that's a tough one. I think Allegiance has the potential to upset United. But if I'm going off past placements in this game, then I'm going to give it to United because they've consistently performed better on land than they have, or than Team Allegiance has. But like I said, that being said, Team Allegiance, as we saw in London, has the chance to upset teams. So I'm not counting out Team Allegiance by any means, but I am going to give them the 1-1, and I'm going to give United the 2-0. And I'm going to say that these two teams are going to make it out of groups, and I'm fairly confident in saying that. So yeah, guys, that is my predictions for the group stages as of this far. For the Mexico Open event that's coming up this weekend. Make sure that you guys tune in to twitch.tv/Gears of War. I'm not sure what time matches start, but you can follow me on Twitter and I'll be letting people know when matches start and stuff like that, when our matches start, etc. But yeah, there's information on gears.gg, so you can check it out there. They might have a start time on there, but twitch.tv/Gears of War is where the action will be taking place. And make sure you show some support. Let the green wall come out, show us some love. And that's going to do it for this video, guys. So make sure that if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. Let me know in the comments down below if you agree or disagree with these predictions. And if you disagree, let me know how you think they're going to end up, because I'm curious to hear your thoughts. And as always, please subscribe to the channel. I upload every day. I've got a really awesome project coming up from Mexico that I can't wait. And I'm going to be doing an announcement video on that in the next day or two, so you guys can look forward to it as much as I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, guys, thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.